Okay, 6 o'clock. So let's call this meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I, the state, brother, one nation, for liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Lane,
Yes, here.
Councilmember Whitmer,
Yep.
Councilmember Lewis,
Here.
Vice Mayor DeGolia, and Mayor Holland.
Here. There are no presentations tonight. So we'll move on to public comments. This is for items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody online or in the room? Okay. Does anyone, this is the disclosure of ex parte community. One to disclose?
I had a meeting with 40 neighbors in the Fair Oaks area over at Atherton who were interested in learning about new laws around development. So I gave them an overview of the ADU, SB 9, SB 123, and SB 79. Because there's a number of things in the area. It's 2 SB 9 properties, new ADU, 2 new ADUs, and also right across the street from the border, an unincorporated area, an SB 123 with 9 units on 0.46 acres. So they all wanted to hear more about it, and I was invited to do it. I went there. Relative to something on the agenda.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Departmental written reports, is there any question? Nope. All right. Mona, would you like to report out of our closed session?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The council met in closed session today on 3 items. There was no public comment in advance. The council provided direction on the claims, and there was no other reportable action on the other 2 items.
Okay. So moving on to the consent agenda, I wanted to pull item 4 for Brittany to give an update on the housing element and report. Items? Jen?
I agree with that.
Okay. Well, Brittany, you want to give a little update for everyone, or
You want to approve the ballots
we
of the
approve
consent
them
agenda
before?
first?
Move to consent.
Okay.
And confirming
Second.
there's no public comment on consent?
No public comment on the
Ah.
consent.
all right, so we
Moved and seconded.
have a motion and a, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll do the.
Yeah.
Okay, before we do the.
Okay, so this item is the annual progress report, and the mayor had reached out asking that we go over table B and specifically focus on our progress in terms of meeting each income level and then tying that into what our housing element programs and strategies are. So on the top of this slide reflects a printout that you have in front of you. For those in the audience, table B was already in the staff report. It's in small print because the majority of the information I want to talk about is extracted into the table below. So table B is just what it looks like when we submit it to the state. For discussion purposes, I've kind of reformatted the numbers and the columns so that it's easier to see in a snapshot. So we have the income level category on the left, and very extremely and acutely low for the purposes of table B are all merged and counted in one category. The next income level is low, moderate, above moderate, and then we have the total at the bottom. You'll notice that I didn't bold that, and that's because I don't necessarily want us to focus on the total performance. it can be misleading because we have to meet targets in each income level. So it could look like we've met our total requirement, but if we aren't performing well in the very extremely and acutely low category, that could be a problem that has implications for our next housing element cycle. So now looking at each income level, for the very extremely and acutely low, the number of units to date is 37. The allocation requirement to the town is 94. So we're about 39.4% complete with that target. I'd say we're about a third of the way through the housing element cycle. We have 57 units more remaining, and then the housing element programs and strategies I've listed here. We have 3.811C. That's our RM20 and RM40 multifamily overlay zones. That's really the ones that are focused on developing the school sites. And you'll also notice that that category appears across every income as we go further in the table. We also have 3.812 A and B. That's the new construction of ADUs. And that's where the bulk of the units that we're counting right now come from. Those are units that we've collected from applicants with permits that have been issued, and they've completed a self-reporting survey that they're intending to rent those units at generally no rent, providing them at no rent, and that's how we get at the acutely low category. Beyond that, we also can include our inclusionary housing program, which does provide an option to provide units at this income level across every eligible inclusionary project, provide units. The next income level category we have is low. There we have 15 units to date. Again, these are actually coming from our ADUs. Most of these units are coming from our ADU program. The allocation is 54, and we're about 27.8%, so just a little below a third, with 39 remaining. The programs outside of our ADU program is still the RM20 and 40 category, as well as inclusionary housing. I could have included ADUs actually in every income category here. I didn't, because the way that our ADU category or our ADU program is focused is actually for the lower income levels. But we do get surveys that indicate low and moderate rental rates as well. The next category we have is moderate. We have 8 units to date with an allocation of 56 and a percentage of 14.3. So not as high as the lower income categories. We have 48 units there. Moderate is also provided for by our multifamily school sites and our inclusionary housing program. And then we have the above moderate category. And this is where you would classify any sort of new construction of a single family home. And that's why you see those programs mentioned there. We have 111 units to date. With an allocation of 144, 77.1%, so exceeding the pace there, which is not uncommon across jurisdictions. I mean, this is where cities are building housing, with the amount remaining 33. And again, the programs used to supplement this income category are new single-family housing development and then new single-family housing associated with SB 9. Given Council Member Lane's mention of SB 9 as a program and growing interest in the community on what that program entails, we are meeting internally to look at how that program aligns with state standards, and then we will be balancing what the town requires moving forward and how it aligns with the state, with the fact that our housing element does target 24 or has a target of 24 SB 9 splits for the housing element cycle. We're only at 19. So we would need roughly 5 more SB 9 applications to say that we've met that program. So we're very close, and I would anticipate that we could do that quickly and make changes as well.
Excuse me.
Let's do Bill first and then you.
So on the report, it shows what was complete. How many of these are in progress that are not yet complete? Do you know? And then permitted,
So these numbers reflect projects that have an issued permit.
just permit.
Yes, and that's the uh, metric that HCD uses to judge whether or not a town is meeting its objectives or meeting its allocation requirement.
All right, so, and there are projects that get permitted, but don't get.
Well, generally, they're going to get completed, but I don't have the statistic up here to tell you that, for example, all
Okay.
of the 9 very low in 2022, late 2022 were finalized. I would assume so. I would hope so. We have some of the ones that are counted here in 2025 already did get finalized. It's just not reflected
Fine,
here as
okay.
a data point.
Then is there a plan as we get closer to our checkpoint to actively collect information from ADUs, SB9 splits, all that stuff because, you know, as you pointed out at your discussion, that when they get the permit, they say what they're intending, but that doesn't necessarily happen. Or it may have started, but it didn't stay that way.
So right now we're collecting the information. We actually collect the surveys as frequently as we have touch points with the applicant at the application, at the issuance of the permit, and then we also ask for it if we're missing that information at the final and the certificate of the project. There isn't a reflection of that at the final stage in the APR data at this point. That's not something that the state has asked for, but we are working to collect that data. And in some cases, actually, we find that the income level has gone lower. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany, for this chart. I have 2 questions. One, you added that we have 24 SB9 splits as a target. And how many have we received as the applications for?
We've received 19 applications.
19 applications. Okay, thank you. And then regarding the above moderate, like ADUs and new single-family homes, 111 have been, I guess, target permits issued and 33 yet to go. What happens if we start exceeding our 144 target? Will we put a cap on it and not accept any? Because, you know, this is going to roll over again in 2030, 31, and we're going to have new numbers to meet.
That we wouldn't necessarily want to cap it. I'm sure that there are some state provisions that would hinder our desire to do that. I'm not worried about us meeting future targets of above moderate because generally this is the category where jurisdictions exceed all the time. And that's really what's driving inclusionary housing programs or affordability programs that we see at the state. They're trying to take that number and reallocate a portion of that to other income categories. And so that's why you see an inclusionary housing program you put into use. Also, I think you're right to mention that some of these units could be identified as ADUs. We are not in a position where we could necessarily pull back from our ADU program based on the number of ADUs allowed. We might be able to restrict it to the size of the ADU because the town does allow for larger ADUs than what the state mandates us, but that wouldn't necessarily impact the number. That would just impact the size and perhaps the desirability. Although I don't know if that would then encourage part of the reason that we allow for the larger ADUs is because that the town uses that as an incentive to comply with our setbacks. Right? So if the maximum ADU size was 800 square feet in the town, then everybody could take advantage of the 4-foot setback requirement. So
Yeah.
that would be a decision that you would want to keep in
Maybe
mind.
if it were smaller, then it would have more low and moderate income families renting them instead of the larger units. I don't know. Somehow we're going to have to, our numbers, extremely low, 57 is a lot of units to meet.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the extremely low. Could you put like a dollar range or whatever it would be for moderate and low? I don't think we're gonna have a problem on the extremely low because I think the ADO programs will take care of that. But the low and moderate might be a little tougher. But what are we talking about? So a moderate size home would be like $3 million or what?
It's not that simple. I can pull up the
Table.
county's affordability components. There are, it's going to be broken up based on rent. Oh, George has already beaten me to it.
But in this packet, I didn't know it's in it.
No, it's
It
not.
was in the previous one, right? Yeah. I
But
just
he's
haven't
going to
looked
pull
at
it
it.
up and we can talk about it.
I stopped our.
Yeah, I
So
didn't
here
have it
you
memorized.
have,
Right there.
these are the incomes that the
Family of four.
individuals have to meet and demonstrate that they meet in order to occupy deed restricted units. You'll notice that in the table that I provided, in table B, the state distinguishes between deed restricted and non-deed restricted units. At this point, they aren't mandating that the units that we count are deed restricted. They don't even allow us really to outright deed restrict affordability on ADUs. So that would require some adjustment at the state if they were to change their position on that. But generally speaking, if you are a deed restricted ADU, or sorry, a deed restricted housing unit, you have to demonstrate that your income levels fall within this category.
Okay. So moderate is
So moderate 120 is at the, it's in the second
200,000.
table at the lower end.
23.
For a family of
Yeah, I got it. All right. Yeah, I just want to start keeping that in my head in terms of what we're thinking about in terms of, so, all right, I got it. George, can you send that one to me? Thank
Just
you.
send it to all.
Yeah. I just want to, I know I've seen it before, but I haven't memorized it yet.
Well, the rates
have to memorize it,
change on
just
an
pull it up.
annual basis. And it is helpful to have as a talking point when you're engaging with neighbors, because
Right.
sometimes they think that it's especially like the fact that we have to provide moderate income housing, they're thinking that this is a household that makes substantially less than that.
Right. Right.
I think when most people hear low, they're not thinking 6 figures, which is what it is for
Right.
Yep.
single person in San Mateo
in
County.
San Mateo County.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know.
So,
All right. Thank you.
anyone else have any?
On
He can't hear.
table A, where you show the different projects that have been approved and are in process, I have two questions.
Mhm.
Toward the end of the table, you show all the single-family residences, and you identify them as ministerial rather than discretionary. I wasn't aware that single-family residences permits were ministerially approved. I thought that was discretionary.
But there's
No, for the most part, the single family home developments in town do not require any sort of discretionary action. There could be a request for a heritage tree removal or a tree protection zone exception, but that is actually more focused on the conditions surrounding the tree than the outright ability to have a single family home. So the only time we really see any sort of discretionary action on single family dwellings is when they seek a variance, meaning that, let's say they want an adjustment to their required setback, or they are requiring a special structures permit. One of the more recent special structures permit requests that I can think of off the top of my head, actually, we have one going to the planning commission next week, is relative to the location of a pool in between the front building wall and the front setback, which might be justifiable because this is not necessarily your traditionally oriented lot. It's kind of a flag lot tucked behind some other properties. So the visibility of the pool isn't necessarily aligning with the intent of the requirement.
We've had situations where somebody wanted the basement to be like 10 feet more under, or 8 feet more underneath the house. It fit their plan. And so they came in with an exception on that, stuff like that. Usually it has to do with footprint and basement issues and sometimes a height thing too, every once in a while.
Else have any more? Okay, thanks, Brittany. Okay, does someone want to make a motion to approve this item 4?
Second.
And there's no public comment?
No public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So moving on to opening our public hearing, item 7, consideration to adopt the resolution for an inclusionary housing fee. Is still Brittany.
Yes, I'm back. So this action is trailing the adoption of the inclusionary housing ordinance, which you did last month. It will officially become effective, I believe, Saturday. So starting next week, we'll be able to implement that. Part of that implementation means that we will then be able to apply a fee. So this is the kind of enabling action that allows us to do that. This puts the fee in the master fee schedule. It's based on the Bay Area Economic Summary of the in lieu fees on a variety of different prototypes. This included rental multifamily apartments, rental townhomes, for sale townhouses. There was initially some discussion of putting a fee on single family home development, but that was not anything that we moved forward with. That's just still lingering in the table that we referenced from the analysis. And then there were 3 different types of methodologies that you could use for setting the fees. And we talked about this during the inclusionary housing ordinance consideration and decided to go with the point of indifference, setting that as the upper limit. And so the last direction from council was effectively to provide 2 different fees. One that would be $150 per square foot of rental projects, and then $200 per square foot of ownership projects.
Okay. Any questions?
There's something that George changed, $212.
Yeah, I misstated it in my pre-agenda email. The point of indifference was 212 for the for sale item. But your setting of the fee was at 200.
So. But, right.
Okay. No questions? Let's do public comment. Room. Okay. Back to us for comments. Does anyone? Strong feeling?
Talked it out last time.
Covered it
Yep.
last time.
Like to make a motion?
Got a motion?
I move that the city council adopt the inclusionary housing fee resolution based on reasons outlined in the staff report, item number 7.
Second.
Second.
And we'll need a roll call vote on this one to close the public hearing.
Officially closed.
Councilmember Lane?
We need a
Yes.
motion to close public hearing.
Yes, please.
Part 2 of the public hearing is the instruction.
That's each item.
Each one, okay.
So the public hearing is now closed. Can we get a Councilmember Lane?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitmer?
Yep.
Vice Mayor DeGolia?
Yep.
And Mayor Hall.
Okay, moving on to
Great.
our next item, opening the public hearing for our construction holidays update. Fred's on his way,
Love holidays.
expecting a great amount of discussion about this item.
This is going to be
Yes.
heated.
Okay.
I got comments.
Oh.
You would.
Of course.
Use your own rights there.
We are not shocked.
You
But we're still
would.
gonna get out of here at 7:30.
I mean,
As much as he
Maybe.
complains about,
I don't know.
as much as he complains about this, I'm gonna
Create
start
a
timing
risk.
your speech for compared to everybody else's for
Okay,
now.
Fred, it's
oh,
up to you. Bring us in.
We've all read it.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Item before us this evening is ordinance to amend two sections of the Atherton Town Municipal Code in Chapter 15. And basically, it's to reconcile some differences between what the town practices have been for quite a while and what is stated in Chapter 15 regarding holidays and days in which construction activity and related activities can occur. Okay, so nutshell, the 2 points that I'll make about it is one, the reason for this is to clearly identify which holidays the town observes and identify which holidays construction activities within the town limits may occur or not on that. And it's not really clearly spelled out currently in the, has the languages right now in the municipal code. So what we're proposing is one, more clearly defined for the code to more clearly define what the town recognizes as a holiday by including verbiage that the town must observe it as a holiday. Okay, so the two things would occur. One, we adopt the legal holiday has adopted at the state level and then decide if we're going to observe it or not, the town would. Secondly, align those holidays with the Secretary of State's office rather than Government Code 6700 as it is right now, which presumably has changed considerably since it was first aligned with that sometime in the past. And the Secretary of State's office, their holidays are very closely aligned with ours, with one exception. And that way we can use that as a reference base, and then we'd also have to observe it as the town. So two things would occur there. And the reason that we recommend that we depart from Government Code 6700 is there's, depending upon how you look at it, anywhere from 18 to 21 holidays that we would, the town would recognize as the current language, the verbiage says in the code right now. And none of those days work would be permitted on any of the construction sites. So by adopting Secretary of State's holidays that they recognize and further making sure we observe it, if it's an observed holiday, then it would be exactly what we're doing now, the same days that we recognize, the same 11 holidays. Second amendment is to specify which of these holidays work can occur and which it cannot occur, which right now it's just by past practice. We don't really have anything that prohibits it on the holidays or allows it on any of the holidays. Right now it would just prohibit it on all holidays. So that's kind of what the gist of it is.
Cool. Anyone have any questions?
The only, there's a nit here, and that's would be just have, except where noted on the top line. Setting up for, the sentence says prohibited, below it separate.
where are you talking about? please?
Comments,
Did you
sir.
refer that? Did you-
Quickly, in the link.
Well, I would say was there a reason that there wasn't in
There you go.
there?
Rephrase it as questions. Jeopardy rules here. Okay.
Was there a reason that we didn't highlight it on the top line where it says construction deliveries and service of any item shall be prohibited as follows? But then below you say these are allowed. So it seems like on top it says except where noted. But I think most people will get it. It's just slightly imprecise.
Yeah, I believe this was, I wrote this in conjunction with the town attorney, and that was the recommendation given to me by legal
All right.
staff.
All right.
Question.
Yeah.
So the staff report says section 6700 as of 1/1/25 identifies 18 holidays plus Thanksgiving. I don't understand that. I thought Thanksgiving was a holiday, but that would be 19 days, and then list on page 309 lists 11.
The list on what, 309 of what?
309 of 320, I don't know what it is. Construction and delivery hours and holidays for 2026 is the title of the page.
Oh, that's the
list
That's
of
the current list for the year that we have right now.
This is what we currently
This
have.
is what we currently
And what
have,
you,
and-
what are you proposing?
It would be identical when we're done. This, what we have right now is not codified in our code.
Oh,
And we're just codifying it so that we can align with what we already have.
so this is what we have and this is what we need to codify.
Correct.
The ordinance that's attached to the staff report is where we're going. What's in the staff report that you were reading, Vice Mayor, is actually what's in our current code that we're changing.
So
For
the
the
current code
6,700 and
would
the 18
Identify
holidays.
18 holidays?
Yeah, that's the state. That's what they're identifying. That's what we're trying to get away from.
Our code
I understand that,
references the
and I
state.
think that's a good move.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what is being proposed on this page 309 are 11 holidays, is that right? That's the number that are there. And I don't understand what it means, for example, Columbus Day construction allowed. I thought this is designed to prohibit it. I don't have a problem with having construction on a Columbus Day, but why would that be on this list then?
That's
It evolved over time. I'm not sure where the original allowance came from, but that the intent of the ordinance changes, the amendments, is to allow us to keep the current schedule that we have unless the
Is-
council decides to change that.
To the
But
mayor, is it because October 12th, Columbus Day is a holiday for staff?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
but then construction is allowed.
correct.
That's a little confusing, obviously, especially if you're
Same with the day after Thanksgiving. That's a holiday for the town, although we allow construction on the day after Thanksgiving.
I think where it might have come from is because we have time limits for the overall construction project. and
understand.
Builders have to get it. We want to, on
Fair
some
day.
holidays, we might consider less lighter holidays.
Or by,
Columbus Day.
also it's Indigenous Day now.
We should make that,
And it's-
What's that
Some
Some
word?
people call it that, but
Or not? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Go there.
That's the point, that the state actually has a different day for that one.
It's not.
All right.
Okay, Bill had questions.
Oh, no, I've got comments, so
Okay.
I'd like to move on.
Okay, so we'll take public comment or more
I'm not
questions.
finished.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I have more comments.
More
Okay.
questions than I expected.
Yes, yes. You say in the very top sentence, construction, comma, deliveries and or servicing of any item on site shall be prohibited. So, what about FedEx deliveries to the site or other things that you may not control? And especially if it's like a remodel and there's somebody in the house or something that can accept a delivery from a third-party delivery person. And then my second question has to do with, can you talk to me about construction, quote, staging equipment, like large equipment being brought in by even larger equipment, trucks and things with large bells and whistles and backups and screeching and it's at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
But
the
how do we control that?
Well, both our code enforcement folks and our building inspectors, when we're out and we see that happening, we will deal with it when we occur. it.
Not there at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Can't do it.
No, what they
Maybe.
do is they bring it, like early morning down your
Right.
street
They do, and they back up.
and they back up, beep, 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 beep,
Up
beep.
and it goes on forever because they
all the
just
time.
leave it in reverse while they're unloading
Well,
that.
they're not supposed to do that. That's
Oh,
prohibited.
but they do.
Okay, so
Prohibited.
I'm gonna go
That's a
out in
whole
my
different-
nightie and say, don't do that.
That's a code enforcement issue.
That's a code violation.
Out
That
there.
would be popular, I'm
Code
sure.
enforcement.
Okay,
So-
George is gonna answer our questions.
That's a code
Yeah.
enforcement issue. We'd have code enforcement pursue that. But also this is in Title 15, which is connected to a construction permit. So if you're having FedEx or somebody else delivering your furniture on a Saturday because you're remodeling your
Mhm.
home, that's not prohibited here.
Code enforcement officer. She raised her.
Most of our code
He's
enforcement
going
is
to give a ticket for
complaint-based.
somebody coming out in their nightie.
Yeah,
No,
it
I think
is.
she wanted to address the question.
It's a mess.
They're gonna-
I know.
Let's get to where we make our comments.
Okay, all right, more questions.
Yeah, I don't understand why is Columbus Day and the day after Thanksgiving on this list at all? Because it says construction is allowed, notwithstanding the beginning saying construction is prohibited.
Because they're town holidays that the town
Oh,
observes.
Okay, so
staff.
they're town holidays, but
Town holidays are every day between Christmas and New Year's too.
Well,
The
that's not,
inspection.
we're issue.
sorry, just interruption there. That's not a holiday. Those are just days that the city hall is closed. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
I can
That's
respond
not
to
the
that.
issue.
So
We're not identifying days that our staff are taking holidays or not. We're identifying days where we're allowing or prohibiting construction, right?
Correct.
And if we're allowing the construction, it counts as a construction day for the total period when we do our analysis. They're in a penalty period or not.
There should be two lists.
Well, let's let Mona answer before we start.
Good idea, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Mona.
Smart.
So my understanding is that the intention behind the definition of holiday first was to reduce the amount because, as staff has correctly indicated, the state's observation of holidays is voluminous and includes holidays that may or may not even be observed by all local agencies, things like Genocide Remembrance Day, Juneteenth, so on and so forth. So this was to clarify it and articulate to builders that you are prohibited from construction activities on holidays and then define what those are. So those have been listed. The ones that you see, the 11 that you see, are ones that are recognized by the Secretary of State and the town of Atherton, both. Columbus Day is not on that list, so it was added, but it's the council's pleasure whether it wants to keep that or not.
If this is for construction purposes, I would.
Correct. Only construction regulations. This is only in chapter 15.4 relating to construction. It does not affect other town activities.
And the Friday after,
I think we're getting close to comments, so let's do public comment and then we get to wordsmith the heck out of this thing.
Right.
Are there any public comments online?
oh, come on. It's our public, but we.
All right, my comment.
All right, comments.
Two things, well, actually three things, probably four.
Jeez.
First off, we list these holidays, okay? But then we say two of them don't count. So why even list them at all? But I believe that the day after Thanksgiving, many people have that day off. Almost every company gives Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving, as well as Christmas and the day after Christmas. I think those should be holidays where we don't have construction. And that includes delivery, pickup, and all that other stuff that you have listed in section 2B, because they wake you up at 3 and 4 o'clock, well, 5 o'clock in the morning, or all the way up to 8. We need to take I believe, We need to take a position that it's our residents that are getting disturbed and they want their peace on a day that they have off. We don't work for the contractors, and the contractors, yes, they can say, as it's been said several times, oh, they got a 3-year window. Well, a couple days here and there isn't going to change it. Plus, the way we implement the penalties, they got all the time in the world to fix it because we don't just implement it, hey, one more day. And we allow them to come in and give us all the excuses as to why they need to take an extra day or two. I don't think anybody got billed for missing a deadline by 2 days in this town. That went 3 days, 3 years and 2 days over, and they got whacked. Here's $250,000 fine. I challenge you to give me that list because it doesn't exist. I do believe that our residents should have a little bit of peace and quiet on regular holidays. I'm not counting Columbus Day, but the day after Thanksgiving and the day after Christmas should be added to this list. Town hall is closed on those days. And the rest of the days I can go with. But I just really feel that those two should be added. Take construction or Columbus Day off if you really have to take one off. But have the day after Christmas and the day, Thanksgiving. And it should be, don't preclude that, by the way, you can still get deliveries of, material or other equipment. We don't want to have that. The residents don't want to have that. Okay? We don't work for the contractors. We work for the residents. That's my 2 cents.
Well said.
Like 15.
So okay, so I think is there consensus around adding the day? The
Yes.
list?
Yes.
Okay, so let's add that. Is there consensus around adding the day of Christmas to the list?
Not necessarily, because Christmas comes at, weird dates. It's not like the
Okay, but if
third
it's on a
Thursday.
Saturday or Sunday, then you forget it.
I would just not make that an issue, just Christmas Day.
Excuse me, what you mean, you say add the day after, you mean add it the holiday or add it that it's a no?
As a
work day?
holiday, no
As a
construction, no
Not allowing,
deliveries.
so day after Thanksgiving, no construction allowed, is what we're,
Yeah, just as a point of clarification, one of the reasons that the list kind of evolved this way is not only to tell the builders what day they can't work, it's also to let them know the days that the town may be closed
Yeah.
so that they're not expecting an inspection or services.
Right?
I think
There.
there should be a second list of, the offices and inspectors are not gonna be working on whatever days that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This man has seen his handle.
I think we should separate the concept of holidays, the days where construction is prohibited. My understanding of this is not to identify what are the holidays for the town. That's a bit separate exercise. My understanding of this was to identify the days when construction would be prohibited.
Right.
So I think we should take the whole holidays word out of this. It's just confusing. And I agree that we should take Columbus Day off of, and I'm fine with having the day after Thanksgiving on the list as a day when there won't be construction. I agree with what you said. I wouldn't put the day after Christmas. Because in fact, the town is gone the entire week between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I was thinking residents have the day, not the town.
But residents, they don't necessarily have the day off the day after Christmas. It depends on.
Most residents
Have
take the
Boxing Day
last
off or
2
something.
We
weeks
do
of the
already
year
have
off.
it in the
Most
code now.
residents take
It's
half the
already in
month
there.
of December off.
So the holidays are already in the code and it ties us at the hip with Government Code 6700 and the
We're
idea of this.
separating from that.
Yeah.
that's what the exercise that
That's
we're doing
why-
today
that's why
is
we
establishing our
Deal
own
with
list.
construction day issues here, not holiday issues.
Provided
Different
it's fine
things.
with the city attorney that we shape the ordinance that way, we can make those revisions and just say that these are days where construction is prohibited.
So I have one more
Construction
comment
and
here.
deliveries.
Well, that's
What about
already
this?
that would be a second provision.
Let's hear what Mo. after Mona opines on if we can take the holiday name out and then.
No, let me just really
Okay.
quickly before Mona, okay, because what this piece of paper does, it's identifying 2026 holidays. See what I'm saying? So they've got the dates and, right,
So
and
that-
so are we going to have to do this every year?
This
Because it's
list
a
that's in
list.
here is actually produced by the building department every year and given to the contractor so they know a year in advance
The
what the
dates.
days that they cannot work are.
Okay,
That's a staff function. It's separate from the ordinance. It's not codified.
Okay.
What we need to clarify on the codification is whether or not we can just state them as days versus holidays.
Right. And so the council, just to make sure I understand, because sometimes we say we want to add or subtract, and I want to make sure the intention is there. So the consensus seems to be to adopt an ordinance that would simply identify the dates that construction activities are prohibited in the town. Is that correct?
The days.
Yeah.
And they're gonna actually be referenced as holidays because the date changes.
Correct. And we can do that. So for example, rather than define holiday, it will simply say something like construction, pickup and delivery shall be prohibited on any property within the town on Saturdays, Sundays, and then it list out all of the holidays.
All the dates.
You can just say the following
Days,
days.
holidays.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Days.
the holidays, if the holidays form on a
Dates.
weekend, then it goes either the Friday before or the Monday afterwards. Such as you see on Independence Day, it says July 3rd, because the 4th is on a Saturday.
That's why we're treating them as observed holidays.
So I just want to make sure. So the language will say, for example, construction, pickup and delivery shall be prohibited on any property within the town on Saturdays, Sundays, New Year's Day, MLK Junior Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day.
And we
Have
should
to put-
also add, Mona,
put
that
qualifier
if
in
that
there.
holiday shall fall on like we do in a HR resolution, if it falls on a Saturday or Sunday, if it's a Saturday, it's observed on Friday. If it's a Sunday, it's observed on Monday.
That way
that
you-
would be that would be an evergreen kind of a document instead of having to create one every year.
Well, we create that document
create
just
it
for the
anyway.
ease of the
Building and
contractors.
planet, the building department
yeah.
creates that as
Yeah,
a
But-
service to the.
Yes,
That's fine, but that's not what we have to deal with.
correct.
And I don't see what the value is of saying Columbus Day construction allowed.
We're not.
Been
Well,
removed.
we're
It's been
revising
removed.
all
All
the
right,
whole
well,
thing.
no problem. I just want to say that again.
Clearing it up. Okay. Do you feel that all of our feelings and comments
That's
are
where I started,
reflected?
so I'm fine with.
You're good. Okay.
And that's where I
Sure.
was-
One
brought it up in the first
clarification,
place.
Mona, can they introduce it as you read it, or do we need to
Yes.
bring it back for a new public hearing?
They can actually, I'm sorry, give me 1 second to read what the agenda language says to make sure there was sufficient notice. Update holidays, you can read these changes into the record and bring it back in for second reading for the benefit of the public. Again, the proposal is to eliminate the language in the draft ordinance, section 1C altogether, which defines holiday. And instead, under section 2, it will read, construction, pickup, and delivery shall be prohibited on any property within the town on Saturdays, Sundays, on New Year's Day, MLK Junior Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, and Christmas. If a holiday falls on a Saturday, it shall be observed on the preceding Friday. If a holiday falls on a Sunday, it shall be observed on the following Monday.
So moved.
I like that.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
We've got a motion and a second. We have to do a roll call for this, or is all in favor?
We need to do a roll call, please,
Councilmember
and closing
Lee?
the public hearing.
Yes.
Hearing is closed and there's no public comment. Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Widmer,
Yep,
Vice Mayor,
Yep.
and Mayor Hall.
Yes.
say yes.
Started it.
Good,
You
yep.
did.
Yes.
Well, I know you made the motion.
Okay, cool.
That
Moving
doesn't
on to
mean
the
anything.
regular agenda.
Okay,
Great.
number
So,
9.
city council to review all of our land.
That's me.
That's
Christabel.
Christabel.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Mayor, City Council. Christabel Soria here, Management Analyst, here to discuss and review the electric and gas equipment use at Holbrook Palmer Park, where our staff is recommending that you concur with our proposal to transition some of our town-owned landscaping equipment from gas-powered to electric alternatives where feasible and as needed. This is following a previous council discussion where the EPC proposed a resolution to establish a pilot program at Holbrook Palmer Park to evaluate the use of battery-operated gardening and landscaping equipment. The proposed pilot was intended to compare the environmental, health, operational, and economic impacts of battery-operated equipment at the park, and it was supposed to be used as an engaging educational tool for the public as well. So following this, we took some of your direction and we met with Brightview to evaluate the equipment that they use at the park. And they came back to us with an Excel sheets with hopefully we can put up or also shown as attachment 1, where they demonstrated the landscaping equipment that they own and that they use around the park and the town facilities, as well as town-owned equipment that they use. And we found that Brightview is able to maintain their daily operations in town at the park and around the town facilities with their own battery operated equipment and can do that and can operate as so. Then we had to look, there we go. Attachment 1, we had to look internally to see where we can transition some of our own equipment that was gas powered or is gas powered. So now we're looking in to see and identify some of the equipment that we can transition out or phase out as needed and when feasible, because the equipment is in good shape as is. So we don't want to toss it out, but we do want to replace it as opportunities come, whether that's grant funding or the use of the equipment is at its end of life. With that, are there any questions?
Questions?
Yes.
What is a gator?
The Gator, it's a riding mower. Like a
I can't-
golf
Three people are
cart.
talking, I can't hear.
Sorry, it's
When can we drive it?
Public Works Director might be able to evaluate more or provide insight on the
The
equipment.
Gator is the little cart that they use to drive in the park.
A little cart that they use to drive around the park?
Yeah.
And so you'll see on the list, in green, you'll see it's mostly the Brightview owned equipment, and in orange, you'll see it's the town owned equipment. I put asterisks next to number 12, 13, and 17 as easy low hanging fruit of equipment that we can easily switch out. The Gator as well, when the time comes, we would look into transitioning that to also be battery operated. With that, I'll conclude saying that, bringing the conversation back to the EPC's suggested pilot program, we determined that a formal pilot program wasn't necessary, but we did identify opportunities to electrify some of our own equipment. So that's where we're taking the direction as next steps. Thank you for providing that image. And we're seeking just some of your feedback as to whether you agree with this and any direction on next steps. And we'll be bringing this back to the EPC as an update, also working on how we can build out some education and outreach around this and growing this out as it evolves.
That's a question.
It's a comment.
Oh, well, we're not doing that yet. So
Okay.
does anyone have any questions? No? No? Okay, public comment? Okay, Bill.
I've used electric train saws. Quite honestly, they don't have the power. Not recommend that we, at this point in time, place any of the chainsaws. I'm not mentioning the pole chainsaw because that's cutting small branches, but the bigger chainsaws just don't have the power. So
Yeah,
I speak from
That's
from
something we've had a
experience.
conversation about with Public Works. This is something that would probably be one of the last to transition, just because the chainsaw is one of those unique equipment uses that we just need the gas-powered equipment. But as technology advances, we'll see what the market has to offer, and this would be considered down the line as well as other equipment.
Question?
I think that the stick edger, the chainsaw, and the pole chainsaw are irrelevant. They're not used enough to bother with. I don't think we should focus on them at all. The only non-electric items that are used more are the gators and the tractor. The gators are used quite often, the tractors. I'm sure it's harder to replace the tractor. Gators are probably quite easy over time to replace with electric vehicles. And I think we should have a program to do that as it makes sense. But I think that the bulk of the information that we received here, when you really look at each one of these items, because the chainsaws and the other items that are not in use are really irrelevant. The things that are relevant, we're mostly using electric equipment. So this is, this is good to get this information, but I don't think there's any big action item other than to plan to replace the gators as we can with electric. And I don't think there's urgency to do that if they're fully operational, but at some point they're going to need to be transitioned out and replace them with electric.
Point of clarification. How many gators?
2.
1 or 2?
We have 2?
Two.
I,
It's on the list twice.
Wow,
At the top in
Yeah.
yellow
Uh-huh.
and down in the.
Okay.
one's yellow and one's orange.
Town owned versus Brightview.
Yeah.
One's you
Yeah,
3 hours and the other's for 5 hours.
I agree.
Does anyone else have any comments? Pia?
Ready for a motion?
I'll have a comment. I'm really happy to see this list. We're very electric. That's great. That's great. So I agree with what Rick said. We should, where appropriately as quickly as possible, try and electrify. And I hope we are prepared with our list when grants come available so we can go get that other people's money. But I think this is great and I'm excited for us to talk about it. So this is a good exercise.
Excellent.
All right. The last item on the
So you want a
list.
motion, right?
This is just a information, right?
Well, then,
Information.
while she's here, then I want to congratulate Christabel on her promotion. I met her first when she first came in as health
Thank you.
planning group, and she was just recently promoted and done a great job the whole time.
I
I've
was
known
an
her.
assistant planner then, yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Now for the fun stuff. Item 10, the alarm permit compliance and false alarm.
Madam Mayor, I think you got a tag team for this one. You got the commander here and you got Robert as backup.
Well,
Okay.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Town Council. I'd like to provide a brief overview of the town's residential alarm permit program and recommend improvement to our current processes. In Atherton, there are 2 types of alarm monitoring available to residents. In Atherton, residents may choose to have their alarm monitored by a private alarm company, or they may have their alarm monitored by the Atherton Police Department. Regardless of whom monitors the alarm system, all resident alarm systems in Atherton require a valid permit. At the beginning of each year, the police department provides the finance department with a list of residents that have alarm systems. The finance department sends out invoices for the annual alarm permit fee. Under the current practice, after the initial invoice is sent, there is no follow-up for unpaid permits currently. Additionally, the Atherton Police Department responds to alarm activations regardless of whether or not a permit fee or they have paid their permit fees. We are still going to alarms as they come in. The police department currently monitors approximately 1,534 residential alarms throughout the town. And in 2005, the department received and processed approximately 1,246 alarms. One of the primary goals of the alarm permit program is not simply fee collection, but ensuring that the police department has reliable contact information and property information in the event of an emergency or an alarm activation. Staff is recommending improvements to the current process to create better accountability and more consistent permit compliance. The first recommendation is to establish a centralized database of all alarm permit holders, including a tracking system for paid and unpaid permits, which Robert has been working on diligently. In addition, staff recommends implementing a 3-step notification process for unpaid permits. Step 1 is going to be the initial notice. Each January, an initial notice will go out to all residents, advising them about the alarm permit, the process, and the fees. Step 2 is a 30-day past due notice. If a permit remains unpaid 30 days after the initial notice, a second notice would be sent informing the resident that the permit is past due. The notice would also advise the resident that if the permit is not paid, the police department may discontinue monitoring their alarm in the future. Step 3 is going to be the final notice. If the permit remains unpaid for 60 days past due, the resident would receive a final notice advising them that the police monitoring of their alarm system will be terminated if the alarm is not paid within 15 days. If the permit is still unpaid after 15 days, the police department would stop monitoring their alarm system. At any time, alarm monitoring service can be reinstated once the permit has been paid for. These changes are intended to create a clear and consistent process for permit compliance while also ensuring that the police department maintains accurate alarm registration information for residences throughout the community. The proposed system also ensures that residents are given multiple notices and ample opportunity to comply before service is discontinued. And that is a summary of the staff report.
Question.
Did you cover false alarms? Did I miss it?
So false alarms, that would still be going out. So that system we already have in place fairly, or that's also been ongoing where we do get the false alarms. We're tracking them within our computer-aided dispatch program. The first 3 are free of service, and then the 4 and beyond, they are being charged. And it is a similar process, whereas we are collecting those, we are sending those for the finance department to send the invoices out.
So we are needing to give guidance on 2 items here, just to make sure we're all clear on it. One of them is the annual fee, paying for their, and the false alarms, which are a separate thing. So we asked them in 2 parts. So maybe for our questions, let's first focus on the permit, and then we will false alarm questions. Is that okay with everyone? So we're not jumping around in our brains? Okay. Elizabeth, you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor. And thank you, Commander, for that report. Of the 1,534 residential alarm systems that we will be sending out these notices to, what percentage are delinquent? Have that, is that someplace in our, I see the alarm calls 1,246, but, are we having, it is a different issue, yeah.
I don't know if I have that number with me.
Yeah, the 1,534, is it, I may have missed it in my
I think it was in George's,
summary, George.
well, that he sent out today.
Well, I just kind of want to know what the scope of the problem is.
All right. We're gonna work on that.
Okay,
Throw
go
more
on to somebody
questions
else.
at them. Okay. Bill.
So what do you do if you get a notification from, say, ADP that says we have an alarm at this place and they've never registered?
So my understanding is that we are making a note. So in our CAD system, it says whether or not they have fulfilled the permit requirements with their fee. And if they have not fulfilled that, or we don't have a permit on file, we are letting the finance department know that they do not have a permit on file, so they could send.
So then they're added to the list.
Correct.
Can
Yes, sir.
you, is it possible that the officer could give them that to fill it out when they visit to the house?
I think it's possible that we could bring a form with us to have them fill out, but it's just an addition to, and the officers most of the time don't have that information with them. That would have to come from the dispatcher.
All right.
I don't think.
Eric has a
there
question.
should be
I got a real quick question.
Applications. handing-
So does the penalty stay with the individual that owns the home, or does it stay with the address?
I believe, Robert, when we send those billings out, I believe it goes to the address. Yeah.
So if someone buys the house and it has a leftover penalty, they have to pay that before they get on okay, so it stays with the individual who owns the house. So it's at the address, but until the owner changes. Okay.
I don't think we want to do it too punitive.
No, I know. I
Right.
just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that I understood how it worked, because
Just want to know how much money. we're
If we
saving.
know the owner, the letter's probably addressed to the owner, but if we don't, it's resident responsible party. But if somebody moves, like you're saying, then we're not gonna hold that
Okay, good.
new owner up to that.
So if someone adds a new alarm system, does that, like, if someone decides to add ADP to their home, does ADP then notify the town that an alarm system has been added to a home, or how are you tracking it?
I don't believe they do. We would find out when we responded to the alarm at the home, and we would be able to see in our system whether or not they have that.
And you guys are logging when you get alarm calls, so you have that
Correct, yes.
address.
Dispatch does it.
And dispatch would
I
then
have
follow
sight
up
and
with the
sound.
notice or
It's
finance.
seamless.
Okay.
Sounds really reasonable, doesn't it? Well, oh, no.
We can get the
I have
people to
I
pay.
have another question. So what happens when you terminate service of someone's alarm system?
So what we would want to do is we would still want them to have some sort of alarm system. It just wouldn't be going directly through the police department, which gives them the most high level of service, the quickest response. So I think as part of that process, we would be obviously reaching out to them, being transparent about that and saying, hey, this is the date. You're going to need to pick up your alarm company, ADT, whatever it is, but we would give them those warning, those notices. We wouldn't just shut off their alarm and not have anyone respond because that would not be good.
So if someone's alarm goes off and their service has been terminated, does someone have to call the police, or how does that?
So they should have another monitoring company. That's just not the police department.
They
And there's,
have to-
yeah, because they have that choice of having it privately monitored or monitored by the police department. So the hope would be that they would transition back to a privately monitored company would then in turn call us.
There was a recent call in Lindenwood where an alarm went off. It was an unmonitored system. It was an audible alarm. And the police were called by the neighbors. Hey, there's an alarm going off at this particular house. It could end up in that sort of situation.
Yes, and we do get those from time to time as well.
So what if someone had an alarm system and then they stop paying, like they just turn it off? Is that like, it's just fine, we don't care at all because we aren't servicing it?
What do you mean
I'll
they turn it off?
I'm just, people are renovating their houses and they maybe are opting, there's a lot of new smarter technologies that aren't wired ADT system. They're doing earth things, whatever that, I don't know if those, doesn't sound like the police department.
No, those do not.
So we're just gonna stay tuned on registering
Yes.
that kind of, okay.
Okay, my
They'll call
follow-up
when somebody
question
breaks
is,
into the house. Breaks into the house.
Yeah.
so my
After.
follow-up question is how does the fire department get notified? Smoke detectors? Because I've had some lovely visits from the fire department. You know, if my, fireplace is not right or something. It's
Yeah,
a
so-
smoke detector, it's not an alarm.
It depends on the alarm system and the
is.
setup of it.
Yeah.
So it can be incorporated into like a ADT type alarm system. And if that is the case, we do get those alerts with the police department where it does tell us if it's a glass break, burglary alarm, the door, if it's a smoke alarm, we do get that information. And if there is a monitoring company, they would also get that information as well, and they would call the
But if I'm
appropriate.
not paying my Atherton fee, then shut me off. Does the fire department get shut off? Too? Because it goes through my other alarm company.
Ah.
I will pay my,
George has
So
a,
before you move on from this one to the false alarm permits, just for
No,
clarity, we're still talking about.
We've got to take public comment
Yeah,
and
okay.
give comments.
yeah,
We
let's do
haven't gone
this. We're
there.
gonna do
Okay,
it in
gotcha. All right.
full completion and then we're gonna reset for two
Chief
public
is
comment
online,
sessions.
so if you say anything.
I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to say
just
anything.
listen.
Just watching the commander handle it.
Eval.
Okay, any more questions on this? Okay, public comment on this slice of item.
Public.
Get Gary to come.
Oh.
Okay, now comments for this. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, so I think that there are two issues here. One is, if someone doesn't pay their annual fee or their initial fee to set up an alarm system, then I think that what APD is proposing in terms of the 3 notices, the fine of which, if they don't respond, would be final and they'd be terminated, is exactly right. It's a financial disadvantage to the resident for that to happen because the Atherton Police Department monitors that alarm system at no cost other than this fee. And if they don't pay the fee, then they shouldn't be on our list of who we're taking on to monitor. That's the first issue, and I 100% support what was communicated to us here. The second issue is we don't want to put residents at risk. So essentially, if we are telling them that we, APD, is not going to monitor them, then we are advising them that they should go get a private monitoring company. And yes, we will continue to back up behind that private monitoring company because that monitoring company isn't going to come out to the house and when an alarm goes off, but they're going to call us. That's going to be less efficient and more costly to the resident. So in my opinion, it's a definite, 100% definite disadvantage to the resident, which they should incur if they fail to pay the alarm amount. But we shouldn't completely cut them off in that if their monitoring service calls us, we should respond as we normally do.
Yeah, we have
Agreed, sir. Yes.
You have to respond because they're paying their taxes, so they're paying for PD, but they're just incurring the delay of 3 to 5 to 15 minutes, which, you know, is what we've heard from PD. Guys are in and out of the house in 3 minutes. So they're really taking on the extra risk. So it's in their benefit to pay the fee and have PD respond immediately with the drone and with the police officer.
Yeah, and you're correct, sir. We do respond. Any alarm that we would get, we would be responding to that. And the delay is not us waiting, sitting and waiting. It's their call process of when we finally get notified, and that's what causes that delay in our response.
On this? Okay.
I do.
Okay, great.
So the code our municipal code, and Mona, correct me if I'm wrong, requires any alarms that you have installed at your home to have a permit issued from the town. So technically not renewing your permit is a violation of the code. How do we want to handle that?
Send them a ticket.
Because we need them to register so that we have a point of contact so we can.
So we know who to
false
call.
calls.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that was the whole purpose of this originally.
Yeah.
The chief came and said, a lot of times we don't even know who to call. It's changed hands or it's a new housekeeper or something like that. So that's why we started this whole thing, was to know who to call and what their phone numbers are.
Mona, is the code section a citationable offense?
Are you looking at 8.04? Which section are you looking?
8.04, yes, alarm systems.
But sorry, what subsection?
Hang on.
080?
8.04070 is the fees.
Yeah, it says 8.04 alarm systems, and that's where it says all alarms right up. in
Right,
there.
but that's for false alarms. So
Yeah, that's false alarm.
I think it's 804030 is the permit application.
Yes.
okay, so well, 050 says each person installing an alarm system in any premise or building in the town shall obtain an appropriate permit from the police department and pay a registration fee in an amount set by a resolution. Additionally, each permit shall be renewed annually and a fee paid. So we have one of two options. There's no specific consequence for not doing so in chapter 8.04, but I believe under our nuisance abatement code section, we have a general section that says the violation or failure to comply with any of our ordinances is a nuisance, and based on that, we can uh, charge them a fine, but
Where I'm looking to head, Mona, is if there's another hammer that we could send in the letter that says failure to obtain your annual permit or renew your annual permit, in addition to losing the monitoring fee of the PD, could subject you to an administrative citation in the amount of X, Y, Z.
$10,000.
I wouldn't say could. Well,
I-
if they
I
don't
have
do it.
a,
We need
I
some
have a
more money in the
question.
P.
Does it make sense to call it a permit? Because to me, permit implies permission. Like that you could say no, I just feel like branding wise, I do this more as a registration of your alarm system versus a permit.
Interesting.
I don't know. I just
Interesting
wonder if
concept.
more people would fill out a registration. He's shaking his head.
I
No,
don't
he knows
think
some
so.
things.
the code says registration, just so it says the language in the code says a registration. Also under chapter 1.21.001, we can impose an administrative citation for failure to comply with any town ordinances or codes. So that would be one way that we would be able to get someone's attention for failure to register their alarm system.
So in response to what you raised, George, right now, people basically voluntarily they get a notice, an annual notice. When they first sign up, they get no doubt a notice that they have to do this registration fee. And then each year they get a notice that there's an annual $50 fee due. But there's no follow, and I think that if they don't pay it, we probably send them a reminder. But other than that, we're not doing anything to attempt to collect.
Correct.
And there's obviously going to be an administrative cost if we're going to do more to try to collect.
Yes.
Collect. get
And
that
that's what you're
money.
asking about.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Because if we're not going to do that, then what's the purpose of the?
Right, yeah, that's right. And we don't want to install an administrative procedure here that it becomes a cost center.
Right.
No, but it needs to be fully burdened cost.
They have to hire a
So we're doing it for
specialist
free.
to do it. Again, I want to know the scope. How many don't respond?
We got that information at one point.
Yeah, it was somewhere.
I think the chief told us.
It was
last
more than
week.
50% didn't pay.
Anthony, I saw Lisa raise her hand. She.
I
And
think the
just
number was
to-
in relation to false alarms.
If
Oh,
I
it's
can just
about-
make a correction too, I previously said it's a registration. It's actually under 8.04050. Someone would be obtaining a permit and paying a registration fee. So
Yeah,
both
that's what it says.
terms are used in our code.
You have the floor, Lisa.
Lisa Marie Daly, Code Enforcement Officer for the town of Atherton. My question on this, or my comment would be, the Code Enforcement Officer could write the administrative citations, which would be a fine. Per chapter 1.21, as Mona said, it would start with a notice and order, or as our regular procedures go, we would usually send an attempt to contact letter, such as a reminder letter in this case that we're discussing, followed by that notice in order to abate. Our code does say that we have to send one of those first. That'll provide somebody 30 days to comply, at which point then we can start issuing citations. They can go daily, weekly, however we choose to do that. The question that I would have after we send so many notices or so many administrative citations is what would be the abatement process to correct this? Because the overall goal is voluntary compliance, but if we don't receive voluntary compliance and they never register for their permit, what's the recourse? Usually for an abatement for a nuisance, we would abate the nuisance by removing it, such as, let's say there's a tree on the property. We could get a warrant and go in and remove the tree. For this situation, the not getting a permit could go on for quite some time, and that could be $500 a day that's just being applied each day for not doing that, and that seems a bit excessive. So at the end of this discussion, something to consider is what would be the end of the fining of the residents for not coming into compliance with this code, and what would the overall abatement process for this look like, other than just canceling their alarm service and telling them, okay, you owe these fines. Again, if there's a separate service that's available for that, outside of code enforcement, that would be fine. But there still needs to be a recovery process in addition, because fines are not recoverable through liens, but fees are. So any admin fees for the time that staff spends doing this and sending out those citations, those can be recoverable. But for a $50 a year renewal fee or a $100 original sign up fee, it seems quite absorbent to send out all of these thousands of dollars in fines for something like that. I'm not sure that that's the way that the town would want to go, but that's of course at the leisure of the council to make that decision.
If I may, I did find the numbers. In 2025, there was a total of $9,800 in issued fees for false alarm responses. To date, 4,600 of these fees have gone unpaid.
That's
That's
false
false
alarms.
alarms.
That's false alarm.
False alarm.
We're talking
I'm
permits.
talking about
Oh, the permits, that's right.
On part one of this conversation still.
Clock is
Okay.
ticking.
Okay. So did we do it? Did we give you enough direction? No. So we have to decide if we're gonna basically send people to collections or be more
And
aggressive.
maybe we go through this process and not do that for a while, but if there's issues, we bring it back, but that's a big policy.
Is this, we
question.
have not done this at all.
Yeah,
Correct.
correct,
People just don't pay, nothing happens.
correct.
So when you communicate the follow-ups, should explain what it means to them in
And we
terms
can
of their
report back on
service quality.
the outcomes of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought the chief told us how many people registered, but that's okay. We're about to do it again. We'll find out how many we're gonna have.
So maybe
Yeah.
I'm suggesting.
Yes, we do have that
Oh,
number.
we have it.
That number did
Good.
come out. Robert just
We've
refreshed.
got it.
All right, Robert.
692 paid out of 1,500.
600.
692.
Wait, too many people talking, your
Yeah.
information's not being communicated.
It's about, sorry, I didn't turn my mic on. It's about 692 paid and about 1,500 actual registered permits. So about 43% have not paid. So
And is that an increase last year? Because last year it's more of a effort to.
Yes.
yeah,
So,
that's correct.
so the report was that there were 1,534 alarms being monitored by APD. And,
Half of it, it's not.
and if 692 were paid, then the difference didn't pay, which is
802,
800,
42.
842 are unpaid.
That's about half.
So
I can add.
So it's clear to me that the more notices you send, the more response you're gonna get. At some point, though, it's also administratively expensive to continue to have to spend notices, so there ought to be some additional cost if somebody doesn't pay. Not an unreasonable cost, like Lisa's cost for somebody that doesn't respond to a citation from code enforcement ultimately becomes $500 additional a day. That's not reasonable. But if, I don't know, they don't pay and they need another notice after some notice, I think staff should make a recommendation to us. It could be another $50 every time they get a notice. Or maybe after 5 notices, it starts being $100. I don't know. There's some mechanism that would get people to pay.
Well, the final hammer
never
is
gonna
that
get
you're gonna
everybody
have your
to pay.
birthday taken away from you.
Well, you can
Okay.
send, but when
Okay,
you
hold
get
on,
it
guys.
done,
Eric has
and it's
raised his
enough, you can send
hand.
it to
So we're gonna
collection.
let Eric speak first.
He raised his
Yeah,
hand.
so
Raise his hand.
I need to understand the baseline assumption around the permit fee. What are we covering with the revenue there? What is that about?
Amanda?
Yeah, so it's more staff time. It's pretty limited. So my understanding is it's $100 if it's your first permit and then a $50 renewal fee every year after that one.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is since most people don't pay, the question I have is why do we require a fee for the permit? I would up the penalty for not paying on false alarms and things like that, and just make the permit something where we actually get to see the entire neighborhood full of alarm systems. That way we get an idea of the universe. And if for monitoring or something like that, I don't know. It just goes back to once they're on our radar screen, then we can do something with them. I don't want to chase them down. They're on the radar screen right now, and we're chasing them down for money that they haven't paid, and they still think they're getting service and they're happy with it. So I don't want to make them angry about the service level. They have to pay more for it.
But you think that is the cost is why they're not sending it in? Because
No,
they
it's
can't
a
afford
nominal.
$100? Come
No, it's
on.
rounded,
nuisance
it's rounding
fee.
error in their.
It's $50. They're not doing it because they don't feel they have to.
Well,
They got an alarm company.
what's our payment methodology? Is it by check or is it by online? So, I mean, are
Either.
we making it easy for them to pay?
Yes.
So then, maybe what I'm saying is that if some 55% of the people aren't paying, what's wrong with our system, not theirs? That something there is out of line. These people are good people. I mean, they're people that do things right, and they've run companies and things like that. So what's going on?
I have opinions about
I-
that. but
Yeah, well, I'm gonna comment, answer some of that. So last year we had a whole meeting about this, and part of it was, our discussion was the communication about the registry, that people were confused about what was even the point of registering your alarm system when you're already paying third-party service, which I think it sounds like that communication was effective and the number of registrations increased. Yes? You're
Yes.
nodding your head. Okay, so from my perspective, I would say we should increase and improve that communication. And I think having these notices to explain, here's what you're losing if we turn off your service, and here's the delay that you will see, even if you have APD or whatever, or whatever the other one is.
ADT.
ADP, too many acronyms here. But I think elaborating specifically what happens to you if you do not register, and that you're eligible for false fees, and let's try that. And then if
Right.
that doesn't work, then I think we come back
Right.
and talk about late fees or whatever is kind of my.
I agree with you totally, Mayor. And I think that we should at least, try this approach that's been outlined. I think a lot of people maybe don't even see those little notices
Right.
in their masses of mail. It doesn't get to the, property manager or whatever to hand for them. So
It's a bill.
it's a
It-
bill.
it's a
Gotta
bill.
make it look like a bill.
But I
It's
think
a, it's,
is
it's a bill and a renewal form where
Yeah.
you note, hey, my gardener's changed. This is the new name
This
and
is really
contact
important
information,
information.
housekeeper, whatever it is, so that when the alarm goes off, the
know,
PD's got some points of contacts. And when they go out and search the property and the gardener's in the backyard, they're not tackling him. They're questioning him as to who he is.
I would suggest
Sorry.
having in our Athertonian or something, some explanation of
Okay.
false alarms are a big problem in this town, or not a big problem, but like it is an issue that would improve the service of our police force if we have updated registry, and that we should all do our part.
We could take an ad
It's
out
in the April
Post.
Athertonian.
It's in there, it's
It's
coming.
in the April one.
Yeah,
That's
take an
coming out.
ad in the almanac.
all right,
Yeah.
got
So,
2 minutes
okay.
to finish it.
Phil's gonna leave soon, so, all right, Rick has something.
I think this is not going to get adequately addressed in the Athertonian or in the Almanac.
I don't need.
This is a bill.
It's all the
People should
letters.
get a bill, and if they get a bill from their pest control person or their pool service person or their gardener, they pay the bill or they don't continue to get the service. The problem in our, and they shouldn't continue to get us monitoring their alarm directly if they don't pay their bill. That's what the commander proposed, and I think that's extremely reasonable.
Good.
The issue is what happens if they don't pay the annual fee to have an alarm permit. And we need a mechanism, which is what the city manager's talking about, and just sending them more notices isn't a mechanism. It's got to be a mechanism that includes some kind of increased bill that is reasonable from our side because it's an administrative cost for us. And I think the city manager could propose make a recommendation to us on it. rather than us trying to sort of figure it out up here.
With the burden rate.
Yeah. We'll implement these. We'll get some feedback on how that's going and then come back with a recommendation.
And then we're also putting, this year, we're not just the form for the information in the bill, but we're including a copy of the ordinance in the municipal code explaining why that they're required to get a permit if they have an alarm.
It's the
even if we're-
law.
Yeah, even if we're not monitoring it, that we're sending a copy of that with it, and then a copy of a letter that the police chief wrote regarding the alarms and the reason for it. So,
Ordinances are really hard to read. Whereas, blah, blah,
not
blah.
the one that's in the municipal code, we have a printout that will say.
And it's clear
Sexy.
English that a
Yes,
regular.
it's not
It's
the
on
whereas,
page
sorry.
319 and 320.
Okay.
Yes.
It's,
Okay,
it's.
we're done with
Lovely.
that?
Okay,
False
so
alarms.
do you feel like you have enough from us?
Yes.
Okay, now for the really fun part, time to talk about false alarms. So, maybe since we're reset, can you give us a little rundown again of what you had previously said of what the problem is, what we were asked to
Sure.
opine on?
So our alarm overview is the PD's processed 1,246 total alarms. So the process for the alarms is we get it either from the ADT, the third-party company, or it comes directly to us. Once we get it, we dispatch the officers. Once the officers are dispatched, then we are sending the drone. Then we are also calling responsibles, which is why we want that permit, because then it gives us the list of people that we need to call to say, hey, are you home? Do you need us to respond? Is this a good alarm? And then of those calls where the dispatcher made that call, there were 583 alarms that were actually canceled by the dispatchers doing that and going through those steps. And then from that, officers still responded to 662 alarm calls. And then they responded to one that was an actual burglary. And so of those 662, that is a large call volume where they are responding to these false alarms. And so the process is their first 3 alarms are free. And then once we get that 4th, then we start sending them the warnings and the invoices, and we're working with Robert and Finance Department to send those along. And then it's an increasing penalty with the fees. So the more alarms they get, the higher the fee continues to climb.
He doesn't change if they don't pay.
Correct.
If they've just had whatever, 4 false alarms, they get the bill for $400. And if they don't pay it, do they get reminded or just a one-time bill?
Yeah, we send them another one on the false alarm. So we communicate with dispatch, because dispatch gives us who had the false alarms. Dispatch will let us know. And so that's how we invoice them. And then we communicate that they paid or they hadn't paid. And so we send them another one. But
What's not happening is if they don't pay that subsequent one, then what happens to it? We're not sending it to collections or anything like that.
Yeah, so the commander said that of the 9,800 false alarm fees for those with 4 or more false alarms, 4,600 of them are
No, that's 9,800.
paid. $9,800. Yes,
It's not.
4,600 are paid, which means whatever, 5,200 paid.
I believe it was 4,600 have gone unpaid of the,
Oh, 4,600 are unpaid.
Yes,
So
sir.
5,200 are paid.
Dollars.
Okay.
416.
4,600.
$4,600.
$1,600. Sorry, not calls.
Not calls.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Got to seen metaphors here.
Okay, so before we ask our questions, Burge, we had a lot of questions answered in our. Now,
Yes.
should we, would it be help, did you guys all read these? Should we run through some of these?
Already.
Okay. Would
I read.
read it on the record? Okay, great. Perfect. Then we'll just keep going. So Bill's had his hand up.
Sure. So when an alarm goes off at one of these 12 places that keep having all of these false alarms, dispatch know, oh, that's that place where we've had all those false alarms. And does it come up that they've had X number in the system?
it does come up in our CAD system, the amount of alarms that they've had within that year, yes.
Okay, so then the officer responds and turns out it was a false alarm again. Can he go to his car and get out the ticket thing and write him a ticket right then and there?
I think we would have to add that into our e-sites and we have to figure out what we would be issuing that citation for, because I think we're talking about a citation versus
Almost like-
administrative fees, which are kind of two separate things. And then I know from experience, a lot of times when we're responding to these alarms, there isn't anyone there. So a lot of the alarms, there's no one at the home or there's no one at the property, there's no staff on site or anything like that. So we wouldn't necessarily have someone to issue the citation to.
I have a, this feels like it's gonna be a dumb question, but they're not dumb questions. So if the house is empty and the alarm's going off, you guys turn it off? Like, how does the resident know the alarm went off
Mhm.
if they're not there? And
So-
that you guys, it's just when they come home, it's still going?
The
or-
back window is broken.
Yeah, I'm just like, how do?
So they would know from our dispatchers calling them, and that's where we have that responsible list. So we're putting in phone calls, leaving voicemails, that kind of nature. Because in our CAD system, we do have as much as up to date as we possibly can, homeowners, phone numbers, responsibles, and we would go down our list and make notifications that way. So they should know that an alarm has gone off and that the police department has responded.
And we have information for all of these 12 residents? Or
The 12.
the 12
frequent flyers.
big offenders, the top offenders, or we have, I assume, contact them?
Yes, yeah, we should have stuff in our premise files.
And mine keeps thinking about like when FedEx misses you and they put that Post-it note on your door, you're like, sorry, we missed you. Alarm went off. Write it in handwriting 5 times or whatever.
You know,
Okay.
hang something out and
Sometimes,
says that,
I
hey,
know,
your
I'm just
alarm
like,
went
how
off.
do you know if no
I mean,
one's
come
there?
on.
Like, I don't know how, I've never had a false alarm for my alarm system. Okay, Elizabeth has a question, then Rick.
So my question is, I wonder how the fire department handles false alarms, because I'm sure they get a lot of false alarms. They don't send out just a, they send out rigs, with 5 guys in the rig. That's really costly. 4 guys, 3 guys.
It's 3 people
They look
on the
like
big.
5 to me, I just, so I mean, people's alarms go off, by accident sometimes. Then there are the repeated, and these houses are huge, and, there's a lot of moving parts in these houses. I don't know what a simple answer is. How much do you, it's
Fire
really
12 worse.
costing?
That's the problem.
Okay, let's be careful. We're just doing questions, everybody.
That was
So
my
go ahead.
question.
That was a good
That was a
Go
question.
for
It was a good question.
I know, but I can see us all getting
But I
riled
didn't
up.
get an answer.
So I think it gets complicated. There's various things that could set off alarms. It could be something as simple as a spider or a bug running across the sensor. It could be an open door. It could be an open window. It could be a door that's just slightly loose. I know we do get upticks in alarms when we get changes in the weather, because you do get that wood that expands and contracts and that changes the sensors and then the alarms go off. And like you said, we do have a lot of very large properties in town, and it is very hard to secure every single door, every single window. And when they are all alarmed, that's a lot of sensors where there could be a problem or an issue come up.
But the other part to your question was, does Menlo Park Fire Protection District have false alarm fees, penalties?
He doesn't have, you're not aware that they have fees, but you are aware that you do receive false alarms.
receive many false alarms, but we are in the life safety business, so we respond to all.
Thank you.
Right. So just for what it's worth, tying back to the other issue, if somebody doesn't pay their permit fee, then they shouldn't get the 3 free. So my thinking is that, if you don't pay your permit fee, you're on the $400 category right away with false alarms. That would make it so that they tie them together, and there'd be an incentive to pay the ridiculously low fee. They don't get $400 on the first false alarm. So that's just something to throw out there.
That is a comment. Jumped ahead of mine, but.
Would that be a good idea?
Would
to do
that- That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Go up at the end.
Okay, George has his finger up.
Key.
So on the Menlo Park Fire Protection District's fee schedule, there is a false alarm fee of $217 and something cents. Whether or not they apply that or not, it's different, but it is on their schedule.
Okay. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, do we have any public comment in person or online? Okay, great. Now it's comments. Eric, would you like to repeat what you said or you
Well,
feel
we-
good
we
about?
heard what he said.
Please
just
do. We
like I
heard you the
said
first
earlier,
time.
Only without the
Just
question
teasing.
mark.
Okay, who has their hand? Anyone
does.
wants to?
Yes.
Yeah, look, this is about administration. We want to make this as simple as we can. I think right now our structure of if you have 3 false alarms, you don't get billed, but if you have a 4th or more, you get billed a higher amount is a good mechanism.
Right.
I don't think we should burden staff with if somebody hasn't paid a permit fee, then they start getting billed from first or second false alarm. That's not the right thing to do. But I think we should have, just like we talked about having some enforcement with the permit fees, there have to absolutely be enforcement with these unpaid false alarm fees. And I have no problem putting in a mechanism, and I'm happy for staff to recommend it, that if after 2 notices, say, somebody doesn't pay their fee, then there's an additional cost. And after a certain amount and not an enormous amount, it can go to collection. I don't have any problem with that at all. For those people that have had 6 false alarms and owe the town $1,000, if they are not paying it, it should go to collection.
Okay.
Good motion.
Everyone nodding their head?
It's a good motion. I second.
Okay. Great, we got,
Great. So it'll be the procedure we have in the staff report, plus the added recommendation we'll come back with at a certain dollar amount threshold, administrative costs. It'll go to collections.
Just have to be sure that we cover our administrative costs if we have to send things to collection, because that's
Yeah.
cumbersome, actually.
it's a
It is.
threshold.
We'll come up with something that works.
Okay,
Perfect.
all
Thank
right,
you,
cool.
Commander.
All right. This is not, we don't need to make any motions for
And
this.
we've approved what the
Staff.
commander recommended.
Yeah.
At the beginning. Great.
Absolutely. Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
All right,
Second.
all right, meeting's over.
All right.
Great.
Great, we did it.